What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. Side note, happy Father's Day everyone, and hopefully everyone's having a good weekend. But getting right to it, there's a lot to talk on. Data points. On Monday, we have the 20-year bond. Normally, 9 times out of 10, it's not that big of a deal, but we have seen recently that there was a lack of demand, so they did have to offer discounts, thus raising the yields. Market freaked the hell out, so it's something just to keep in mind. So most likely nothing is going to occur, but just if you see a lot of volatility out of nowhere, could be attributed to that. So that's coming out at noon on Monday. But Tuesday, retail sales and also manufacturing data. So manufacturing data is coming out both Tuesday and also Friday, so something to somewhat keep in mind. Wednesday, we have the Fed interest rate decision. So it is fair to assume that there won't be any cut, but what is said afterwards by Powell, that's going to really move the market, because currently the market's priced in realistically 2 cuts as early as September. So if he somehow kind of states otherwise, then the market might start to price in additional rate cuts, or flip side, kind of reduce it. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that does play out, but should be a fun time as per usual. And then Friday, like I said, manufacturing data. So you have all of that in addition to the Middle East conflict between Israel and Iran. And from what I've seen over the weekend, things have been starting to heat up. So most likely oil is going to continue to move higher, and then the market most likely is going to go down. I don't anticipate that to last all week unless other countries start to get involved, such as the States or whatever. But same as what happened with the whole Ukraine and Russia scenario, people freaked the hell out, thought the market was going to sell off and go to oblivion, but typically it just lasted a good 2 or 3 days. Even though that conflict is still going on, doesn't really impact the market at all at this stage, in my opinion. So I think that Monday might be the last, possibly Tuesday, of the market pricing in kind of that whole scenario. But aside from that, the only other thing that could really help the market is a deal with China. So between the States and China, there was a lot of negotiations. Didn't really see anything come out of that as of right now. So that could potentially come out this week. And if so, that'll really move the market higher. Aside from that, companies unveiling their earnings, nobody really that could impact the market. So it's going to be a relatively quiet week for that. And then specific to Lucid, this is their upcoming events. No fireside chats, no interviews planned. Looks like they will be in Nashville and most likely preparing next weekend to be in LA. But aside from that, it's pretty much going to be at the mercy of the broader market, which sometimes is a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you see it. But going into this upcoming week, looking at shorts, 30.57% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 377 million shares. On Friday, shorts did increase 310,000 shares. So shorts are starting to kind of double down again. So if everything continues at the status norm, then you might see a new all-time high short interest, at least in Q3. So hopefully Lucid has some tricks up their sleeve to really push the stock price higher, get it out of this kind of downtrend that it's been on. But looking forward into this upcoming week through the options, bulls are anticipating for it to be roughly around that 250. So a nice recovery is anticipated, and then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 2. So with it at 212, a little bit more upside is anticipated, but the overall volume in Lucid options has been diminishing, as I've brought up. So I think less and less people are paying attention to Lucid through options. But looking at the open interest, so with it closing at 210, so that does mean that the $2 strike prices and below are essentially in the money. So you have 3,000 at that too. That's not going to cause any bump up in the stock price come this week. This upcoming week's chain though is a monthly chain, so it is a little bit higher volume. So you have 9,000 at that 2, 27,000 at that 250, and then 29,000 at that 3. So if there is a recovery, and again based on the bulls, they are anticipating for it to be roughly around that 250, you might have a battle. And what I mean by that is shorts and market makers have a financial interest in having most of these expire worthless. So with 27,000 at that 250, you might have shorts try to manipulate it down to ensure it closes below that. So we've seen it time and time again in the past, so just kind of watch for that. Similarly, if it does get closer to that 2 come Friday, you might see shorts wake up a little bit just to kind of suppress it below that 2 point. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But going into this week with it at 210, it is exactly on this S1, so that's going to be a key point to watch for. And then you do have 205 and then $1.99 as support levels, 216 and then 223 as the next strong target / resistance points. And quickly going on the actual chart, it is below, unfortunately, every key moving average. So on a technical standpoint, it is on quite a vicious downtrend, so it is unfortunate. So just watch for a lot of those key support levels like I mentioned. But if there is a good piece of news, whether it be specific to Lucid or the broader market, aka a China deal or maybe some resolution coming from the Middle East, you'll see a nice push higher because Lucid is rather oversold. So that's something, again, just to keep in mind. In my opinion, factoring in everything that is coming out, and there's a lot of big things that could move and cause a lot of volatility, I do feel that we will be closing between this probably this S2 and this S3, so between that 205 and $1.99. I know that is not what people want to hear, but even leading into the last couple of weeks, as I've pointed out in previous videos, Elliott Wave Technicals is projecting for it to hit that $1.90 range. So I think things have to get a little bit worse before they get better. And I did mention this during my kind of weekend video, or my last weekend's video, that we were going to trend down, and regrettably, that's exactly what did happen. So I still like Lucid, but I feel just the market, like Lucid needs to give investors, Wall Street, institutions a reason to buy Lucid. And from what I've seen, there's a lot of things coming out, but nothing of substance. So I think just it's going to be at the mercy of the broader market. And right now, the sentiment going into this week isn't that optimistic. So let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. Do you disagree? Throw your price prediction for where you feel Lucid will be by the end of the week in the comments below. Hopefully everyone's having a good weekend. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.